the gentleman, the superstar, the man that is Matt Berry.
Hello there.
How you doing?
I'm good. And how are you?
I'm good. Do you know what? The first thing that I want to mention is I was really pleased because when we got someone of your profile joining us, I'm like, please don't disappoint us. And there you go with those shades. Straight away with the shades, I was like, yeah.
He's coming. I've just come out from the garden.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for joining us. Really,
thank you for asking me.
Yeah, pleasure to have you on board. So,
shall I crack on?
Yeah, please do, Matt.
Feel, at any time, feel sort of free to stop me and ask anything because I don't mind, and I get kind of fed up with the sound of my own voice. My name's Matt Berry. I've been recording since I was about 12 years old. I signed to Acid Jazz a few years ago. I've done 8 albums with them.
Wow.
The last one was top 40, which was more of a surprise to me than it was to anyone else, I think. Been composing for film and TV in between doing all the other stuff. So the music side of it hasn't really stopped. It's continued. I was doing it before I got into sort of comedy and things. I sort of drifted into comedy. Comedy wasn't where I envisioned, I didn't even think about it, to be honest. I love doing it, and I'm really kind of fortunate to be doing it. But, it was all an accident. In terms of music, because that's what you want to know about, whatever new project I'm having, I can show you. I always have a bit of artwork up, which is kind of relevant to whatever it is I'm doing. I'm doing like a psychedelic thing.
That's cool.
So therefore, I've got that up.
I love the setup. What is that mixing desk?
Yeah, that's a Midas mixing deck. It's far too big and unnecessary. So that just really helps with getting the getting the atmosphere, and like when you're playing solos, because when you're recording on your own, half the time, if you start playing the guitar, you're just kind of looking into space within your room. So to have something which has the vibe, that you want to convey, it just helps me. I'm not saying, again, it's the right thing, but...
I think that's a dope idea. I can't lie. Just having something visual that's representative of the mood and the kind of...
Exactly. It could be a picture of your son, it could be a painting. It could be a record, like a record sleeve. It just helps to kind of focus the mind, and give you something, to kind of look at. I'm not saying, that when you look at that thing, you're going to do a better take, but I bet that you do.
Yeah. Or it just re-triggers you. It just reminds you what you're trying to achieve or the mood that you're supposed to be in whilst creating this piece.
Yeah. And in terms of what I've basically found in the decades that I've been recording, everything that I've recorded has had a place. Maybe I've not known it at the time, but it will come up and be relevant, whether it's 6 months, 6 weeks from when you record it, or even like 4 years. So anything that you've done that you half sort of finished, keep somewhere where you can get to it, because there'll be a moment where you are halfway through a song and don't know where to go with it. And then you'll go to bed and then you'll be woken up with the fact that track that you did 2 years ago might work with this. Now that's happened a couple of times. I know it sounds odd, but it sort of has done. And then I have these days where I kind of go back and look at projects where I haven't got a clue what they are and I can't remember naming them. They'll be called something like, I don't know, Orange Flower or something like that. And I think, what the hell is that? I don't remember doing that. And then you listen back to it and it's like, right, that bit of it works. I'm going to bring that forward to something that I'm doing now. Do you know what I mean?
It's amazing. What you're saying now reminds me of a couple of things. One is, the saying that good music is timeless. So obviously a lot of our students, a lot of people are sort of following current trends and wanting to make sure that, let me get this out now while it's relevant, while it's the current sound, while it is the wave that is actually taking place at this moment. However, if that's going to be to the detriment of how you put your project out, maybe it's not worth rushing it. And the other thing is, again, which just kind of confirms the whole good music is timeless. The other thing it reminds me of is I remember a guy called Locksmith from the group Rudimental, which is like a dance music group, and they made a song called Feel the Love.
Yeah.
Which is like massive chart hit. Not my particular taste, but it was just a massive chart hit.
Yeah.
And I remember what he said about it was in my hard drive for 2 years.
No, I can imagine, yeah.
Before I actually gave it before any label caught wind of it, and then it was the number one. So it might be just sitting in your hard drive already.
Yeah. No, I mean, it probably is. Yeah. No, I think everything that you record was meant to happen, and is for like a reason. You just don't, you might not know it now. That's the thing. And I suppose the last thing that I want to say, because I'm coming up to the end of it, is don't be freaked out or intimidated by anything, whether it's a effects pedal, a guitar, anything at all. You can play, you can do something with it. These things aren't anything until you pick them up and play. It's like I read this stuff about, this Fender Telecaster is worth like $40,000. No, it isn't. Not until it's in someone's, actual hand and they're like, kind of playing. When it's not doing anything and it's just, and it's just like lent against the wall, it isn't worth a damn thing. It isn't doing anything. It's an inanimate object. These things aren't anything, until you pick them up, and do something with them. And that's, I wish someone would have told me that kind of early on, because I used to be, like if it was a really expensive guitar, I used to be like, well, I better not be touching that, or something, it kind of costs a bit. I think, I better not. Now I couldn't give a monkey's. Everything is up for grabs.
Yeah.
And don't be intimidated by any musical instrument whatsoever. They are there for you, they are there for you to play, not to kind of look at and work out, sort of how much they're worth. That's the last thing I want to say.
Yeah, that's great. I've got a couple of questions, and a couple are coming in already from the thing. But I'm gonna go to the chat, and again, just remind everybody that is watching now. Please feel free to throw some questions in the chat, and we'll open up now. I just wanted to ask, along the lines of your actual career in television. Yeah. We were having some talk before, we even set this off, and you were telling me about voiceover stuff you do. Yeah. But also, you mentioned very briefly about the music you compose for television, right? So many people will sort of associate you with the guy with the face that's in front of the camera. Yeah. But do you have a lot of work in terms of in the television industry that connects television and music that people may not be aware of at all?
Sure. I mean, most of the things that I've done in the last sort of decade, things like Toast of London, things like Year of the Rabbit, I composed all the music for them. Less so with Year of the Rabbit due to sort of time constraints, but all of Toast I did. And there's a film that I'm working on now where I'm doing the score to that. Yeah, so, for the last kind of decade, when they actually sort of let me do it, was when I did a thing called ADBC, a rock opera thing, years ago, where I did all the music for that, and that was on BBC Three or whatever. So I mean, it's been something that's gone in tandem with the other job, if you like.
All right, so I've got a question here from Lawrence Rice. I'm going to put my gallery view so I can see if I can see what Lawrence Rice is at. Lawrence, do you want me to ask it, or do you want to ask it, Lawrence?
If possible.
Go on, go for it.
How's it going?
Hello, Lawrence.
Hi. So it's something I've been thinking about a little bit recently. Do you feel that you do a greater percentage of your music when you start a song? Do you have a plan of what you think it's going to be, or would you feel like more of them are just go with no plan in mind and see what happens?
Well, I'll kind of have an atmosphere of what I want it to be, and what I want it to kind of give off. In terms of chords and something, no. I mean, like, I don't set anything in stone, because you may, have a better idea right at the last minute. So no, there's nothing kind of rigid. The only thing, you know, that I will want to get right from the beginning is the atmosphere of it, rather than the chords.
So I guess, does that start with choosing your picture that you're going to hang on the wall and then go from there?
It can do, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thanks for
Pleasure.
that. Carl.
Hi, Matt. Yeah, I've been involved in audio in various sort of guises for about 20 years. My question was, what would be your advice for keeping momentum going once you've had a bit of recognition and success? Because I had a track that was used on a documentary film made by Dirty Sanchez. I don't know if you remember those guys.
Yeah. I guess the thing is, they saw whatever it was that you do in you. Yeah. So don't stop doing that. And don't try and sort of second guess any kind of audience. Do the thing that you like doing, because that's what got you the Dirty Sanchez thing, right?
Yeah, well, I squirreled myself away for like 3 days, and then my mate recognised that it was a good track and encouraged me to put it on Twitter, and they picked it up from there. You know, so but then after that, I sort of felt a little bit dejected because it didn't go elsewhere. So I guess
but stuff won't at first. You know, you've got to keep it all, you know, kind of going. Yeah, you know, you can't expect, you know, £1 million after a weekend. You've got to.
No.
I mean, I've been flippant, but you know what I mean. Yeah, you know, you've just got to, you know, keep at it and just keep at it and keep at it. I think. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for that, Carl. Let me just see. I got one from Greg. Greg, do you want to ask it, mate? Where are you, Greg? Come on. Let's hear that beautiful voice of yours. Greg says hello.
Hello.
He says, what was your introduction to synthesizers and what was your first synth?
My introduction to synthesizers was Jean-Michel Jarre at Docklands in 1988. And there's a bit of a story with that. So, yeah, he just completely sort of blew my head off. And I was very lucky to interview him for his 50 years in the business. And
who was you interviewing for?
For him being in the business for 50 years. So we did like a podcast.
Okay, you were doing
myself and Jean-Michel. Yeah, and he, I mean, Oxygen is obviously one of my favorite albums of all time, also. And during the interview, he pulled up an effects pedal, which was a phaser, and said, "This is one of the phasers that I used in Oxygen, and it's an electro-harmonics phaser." And my jaw dropped. I was
going to say you were drooling at this point.
I couldn't deal with it. Do you know what I mean? I couldn't think of what to say afterwards. Like, all I could do was just sort of like look at it, and he could see, you know, how excited I was with that. And within 2 weeks of me coming home from Paris, this was in the post.
Oh, wow.
That's the one.
That's the one?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was like...
What a most fanboy alive.
The biggest fanboy.
Cool. Cool. And then, so what about you in terms of what's your first synth? That one?
It was a second-hand Yamaha CS10 that I got for 30 quid.
That was pretty...
Which was a lot of money to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's quite a lot. You know, come on, you had to put a few...
They're like 700 quid now or something. Yeah, but, you know, then nobody wanted it because this was at the time of the sort of DX7s. So nobody wanted any analog stuff. I totally lucked out because the things that I wanted were analog. Because I'd seen Jarre play all these synths with, you know, like loads of knobs on them. I just thought that was the thing to do. That looks cool. DX7s didn't look cool. They had no knobs on them, I thought. So, that was the first one I got. 30 quid.
Stuart McCarthy, do you want to ask a question or shall I? All right, I'll go for it. Do you listen to people outside the genre of music you make yourself? And what sort of music inspires you outside of what you do? Acid, jazz, guitar, etc.
Well, I mean, a lot of it would be jazz, because I don't make jazz albums, but I listen to a hell of a lot. So it would be jazz, I think. And I do get inspired by that because, you know, the pieces are long form and I'm interested in stuff which isn't all, you know, sort of 3 minutes long. So it's keeping the interest up, and jazz has always done that for me, and it does it without you knowing that it's doing it. You know, it's always interesting, you know, and it always kind of, you know, sort of changes in ways that are inspiring, I think.
Tallulah, would you like to ask your question?
Yes, you hear me all right?
I can hear you perfectly.
Oh,
yeah. Hi there.
Hello, you're right. Yeah, I was just wondering about when you're writing, do you compose everything in one go? And then, because I know you've got like a live band, do you work stuff out with them, like collaborate with them, or do you do the whole composition and then they play it?
The composition is done on my own, and I don't write any of it down. I just kind of record it, which is stupid, but I just don't. And then I take the recording to them, and then they kind of fill it out. And then we do talk about stuff, you know, if they have an idea of a tempo change at some point, you know, that I didn't think of, you know, then we look into that. But in terms of the composition, I try and give it to them as much of a finished piece as I can, so I don't have to explain a lot of it, because I can't, because I don't know the terminology.
Right, yeah, gotcha. Other than that, I was wondering if you could shed any light on the Desert Sessions. I know you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know it's kind of
trying to get some
anything you can tell us about that, that would be good.
Well, I might have been there. I might have played on it.
I heard a rumour.
It might have been great fun. Yeah, I mean, that's it.
Thanks.
That's as much as you can share with us on that.
Yeah.
Cool. I think this one's from the YouTube guys
Okay.
and girls. How do you find the process different when writing for pleasure/therapy or to a brief?
Well, I think it's a very good question, that, because I think the best work usually comes from things that no one has asked for. And for me personally, but I mean, it's all for pleasure to an extent, you know. I mean, I'm kind of lucky to be able to do art, you know, as like a job. So it's all pleasure, I would say.
I mean, sometimes I can imagine, sometimes they're like, right, this TV program, we need this kind of sound. Don't you ever get those moments where you're like, or do you always have the full creative license to go, I'm going to take this where I want? Or
well,
if
it's my own show, I mean, if it's my own show, then yeah, you know, then it will sound how I want it to sound. I mean, it's very rare, you know, that I do stuff that is outside, you know, of the kind of music that I would make anyway, because people just wouldn't ask me, you know, they'd ask someone else.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. You're lucky. So you've never had one of those briefs where you're like, what on earth? This is going to be hard work.
A couple of times, yeah, but you just, you know, you just make it interesting for you.
Yeah, yeah. Tobias, do you want to ask your question, Tobias Iria, in case I've pronounced your name wrong?
There you go. Sure.
Go for it, man.
Hey, Matt, how's it going?
Hi there.
Yeah, it was kind of connected to the question Carl asked as well about, I guess, maintaining momentum. I've had the same thing, but I agree with, is it Tijan?
Tijan. Close enough, my brother. Close enough.
I agree with Tijan about, you know, making it wait, because at the end of the day, good music is straight on good music.
Yeah.
But I did start to, you know, feel a bit of guilt by like, oh, am I not really trying? Because right now I'm just kind of creating just to enjoy the process, just because I like just creating. Not necessarily
there's nothing wrong with that.
Project, you know what I mean, though?
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that, I don't think. But I mean, maybe look at it this way then. The thing is, you want the end result to be something you're not embarrassed by. So if it means that you have to say no to some people or stick to your guns over something, then it's usually worth doing. I think the last thing you ever want to be is in a position where you've done something which you're not very proud of, or was too influenced by some advice from someone else. Because that's the worst. You want to always be in a position where the thing that you're putting out is the thing that you're the most kind of proud of, even if it's not the coolest thing that week, or the coolest thing that year. The fact that you think it's great and you went to a lot of effort with it, I think always comes across.
I've got one here from Alien Sun. So this is one of our YouTube guys. All of your music sounds like it has a 70s sitcom and yet medieval prog rock kind of vibe. You've started your own genre, I think. How did that sound come about?
Well, I love the sound of that. I mean, I suppose it's just because that's the things, that you're into. That's the atmosphere and the kind of sounds, and the kind of instruments that you're into. So I suppose it is going to sound like that because that's the kind of music that I like. I don't know about sitcoms, but 70s, yeah, for sure. Medieval, I'll take it.
Yeah, you see, this is what I mean now. Next press release, you've got to say, yeah, it's 70s sitcom medieval prog rock vibes.
Fine. I'll wear that.
We can go with that, yeah?
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. It kind of, like the way you said doing what you like. I've been watching a dramatization of Wu-Tang. I'm a hip-hop man.
Yeah.
There's a dramatization of the WuTang Clan program, of their coming together. And what I noticed from that is that the creator of it just brought into his music the things he loved. He liked kung fu movies. He liked all this Shaolin stuff, and he just incorporated it into and his own lifestyle, and he fused all of those things and made his sound. And that's what worked for it. It was very unique at its time. It's what worked.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Let's go. Barry Saul, I believe. I haven't even read this question, so I'm just going to read it out live. Lord knows what we'll get here. Does Matt do field recordings? And if so, what equipment do you use? So do you do field recordings? And if so, what do you use?
I do field recordings. And right now, I just use my phone. So it could be a reverb that I like, or it could be anything. But if I have my phone, then the recorder on the iPhone isn't that bad, and I can mess around with it when I come back, and kind of make it sound decent. So the phone has been the main tool with sort of recording on the fly, and field recording of late. I used to use, where is it? Is it here? Yeah, I used to use this all the time.
Okay, yeah, I kind of know. I've used one of those for some podcasts.
I mean, these are great because they'll fit in your pocket and stuff, but it's the same size as my phone and it's the same recording quality. So,
and I think people they make allowances for when it's a field recording. We kind of don't expect the top quality. Just in the same way when we stream something from Zoom and you watch it back, you're not expecting HD, 4K, we understand.
Exactly.
Yeah. So people make allowances. I'm just going to go through, people are really grateful actually for taking the time to answer these questions as well. And I won't keep you too long because I know you have loads going on. I found quite an interesting question because of all the mental health issues going on around being sort of stuck indoors. I think this kind of strikes with that. Again, Stuart McCarthy says, have you ever thought about giving up on music? Or I can translate that even into your television career as well. Or had a period of time where you didn't write or left equipment alone. Have you just ever had that moment?
Oh, right. Sorry. I thought he was saying maybe you should.
Well, it might be a loaded question, Matt, but I'm not going to insinuate that's the case.
Well, okay. If he thinks I should, then I'll disappoint him because I'm not.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but only for a short time. I've got an enthusiasm for it, that's kind of renewed daily. We get bad reviews and stuff, and at times, when that happens, it's like, sod this. But it isn't long before, I get back on the horse. I love this more than, I love doing it kind of more than the reaction. Do you know what I mean? I didn't do it to be reviewed. I didn't do it to be in any kind of poll. I didn't do it to be accepted by, you know, any kind of newspaper or whatever. That's of no interest. I did it because I want to do it. You know, I'm doing it for myself, you know, because I love doing it. If things aren't going well, you know, or your vibe's sort of missing for the, you know, then I just come back the next day.
Okay, cool. I've got Maverick Booze asked a question. Maverick, would you like to ask your question?
Which question is it? Sorry, is that
it's the one with the word autodidact? Is that right?
Yeah, that means self-taught.
Okay, go. Cool. Right, thank you.
Does.
We're learning. We're all learning.
Exactly. So, being a self-taught musician, I mean, have you ever looked into a confirmation from your peers during your career, like when you're composing, like you were saying, because you were always, you know, being in some kind of a loop, doing maybe the same kind of things, where you always had to maybe ask other people to come in and help you to do things, or did you find out that you needed maybe to learn more academic music at one point to actually get more strength in your music structure?
No, I didn't. I just looked at more complicated pieces and I just kind of worked out how they were put together and what was sort of used and what the tempos were and why it worked, because it went from this tempo to that tempo, then back to that tempo. So it's more a case of detective work with stuff that I was really interested, rather than looking at any books or anything.
Go on, Maverick. You've got the floor now. You might as well ask the other one if you was like, what question? Go on, I'll let you take the liberty.
So, I mean, while listening to the whole talk in the class, so at the end, what really motivates you actually to make music?
That's a good question, and I don't know. It's a love and it's an enthusiasm for it. Like it's something that I dream about. Like, it's weird because I don't dream about comedy. I don't dream about jokes and, you know, and characters. Yet I do dream about guitars and organs and sound. It's just something that I love. I don't only love to listen, I love to play, you know, and I love the gear, you know, and I love every aspect of it.
So it's your own way of language, kind of. It's your way of speaking.
It is, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask one now because we're about to wrap up. So I guess, you know, with the television that you're in, are you involved in the writing process? And forgive me for my complete ignorance, Matt.
Yep.
You
I
are?
am, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how similar is that process of writing, you know?
It's very similar, because you, for want of a better word, you prune in the same way that you do, you know, with a project, a musical project. So say if I've written a scene, I'll go back to it the next day and I'll tighten it up. I'll get rid of something which possibly slows it down. I'll get rid of something which isn't as funny as I thought it was yesterday. And I do exactly the same thing with a music project. I'll go back the next day and get rid of that second guitar because it's not needed. Or I'll get rid of that third vocal because it's not doing anything. So the process is exactly the same.
Do you ever, like, so then when you're in a mood, like you wake up, you know, sunshine, and you think, I feel creative right now. What's the difference? What triggers you to say, I want to write something that's more script-based, or I'm going to write music? Or is it just like, this is what I'm feeling right now?
I don't ever feel creative. That's like, I mean, I don't know. I hear a lot of, that's quite an American type of sort of reaction. No, I mean, I just, you know,
Look, Matt, when you feel creative,
but you know what I mean? Like, Brits don't normally use that word. You know, it's odd, isn't it? We don't kind of talk about it. But no, I mean, if I've got an idea, you know, then I've got to get it down. Whether it's a comic idea, whether it's someone's name, do you know what I mean? I've got to put it in my phone there and then. Otherwise, you know, I might lose it. And if I lose it, I'll be, you know, I can't forgive myself. You know what I mean? So I've always got to be kind of like making a note of, you know, whatever it is. And it's the same thing, you know, with a tune, you know, whether it's that, you know, or kind of whatever. I've got to just kind of get it down. So it's not a thought of, you know, I'm going to be kind of creative today. I never think that. I've just had an idea. I've got to act upon it.
Well, I want to say thank you so much, Matt, for your time. And
thank you for asking me.
I'll let people into a secret. I sort of, when I was speaking to Matt before we started this, I was like, you know, I know you're busy. Maybe we've coerced you and sort of pushed you into a corner to do this. And Matt, you were just very forward and open and said, no, I really love this. And I love the opportunity to sort of help students and do this kind of thing. And I think,
well, there was no one doing it, you know, when I was kind of first starting out. And I would have liked to have heard, you know, how someone else worked. So I hope, you know, if it's been of any use, you know, or even one sort of tiny bit of it, you know, then it was worth doing.
See, so, well, there's a lot of appreciation being shown in our chat here. A lot of thanks. And also, I want to apologize to Mel Sinky because she's from Los Angeles and probably just heard my American accent there. And it's like, right, that's it. That's the end. I'm done. But no, everyone's showing a lot of gratitude. They're really thankful. I'm very grateful for your time, Matt. You know, hopefully we can talk you around into coming round and joining us again. I know you've got a very busy schedule. And I just want to thank everybody here as well for being so engaged, for your fantastic questions. It's been an absolute
pleasure. Thank you very much.
Honor. Okay, guys. So.
Lots of love.
Much love. Take care,
you.
everybody. Thank you.
See you soon.